One of the main benefits of offering high ticket products or services is that you'll be able to sell fewer high quality products while seeing increased profits. That's what most entrepreneurs, coaches, or course creators think when they set out to selling high ticket offers. But I see more and more people struggling at selling high ticket and ending up burned out and depressed just because they don't get the ingredients right. And that's exactly what we will learn with Jen Gitomer today on the Guri Show. Jen will share with us the secrets to making high ticket sales with ease and flow and how she has sold millions of dollars of service. Not only that, she'll also give us a sneak peek into her personal transformation. So let's dive in. Let's welcome Jen in today's episode. Hey,
Hey, Guri.
Jen. Welcome. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to be
How
here.
are you doing? What's happening?
Well, it's early in the morning when at the time of the recording, and I feel like I've had a full day already. I've done 2 doggy walks, I've recorded my own podcast, and got some grounding stuff in, drinking my cacao, and um, it's been a day already.
Yeah, morning coffee. I feel the same. I got up early today and it's what 8 a.m. and I feel like I'm polished up for the
That's
day.
awesome. That's so awesome.
So we're going to talk about high ticket offers, selling high ticket offers and your process and how people can, get those sales in with ease and flow. So let's get started with it. So what exactly do you mean by high ticket offers?
So by high ticket offers, I mean selling anything a couple $1,000s and up. Usually for $1,000, people will check out online, right? People will say, okay, it's 1,999 or whatever, and I'll pay for it online. But once you start getting into the 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, $20,000 sales, they typically require a conversation and more than just a checkout link, right? And um, it's not to say that you should only sell high ticket or you should only sell low to mid ticket, but to me, it's the combination of both that help you succeed.
Okay. So you're saying that if someone thinks that they only have to sell high ticket, it's not true that they can always, expand to low ticket offers or start from there and then go to
So
selling
the
high
way I
ticket
see
offers.
it is as a newer business owner, you need cash flow, right? That's like the number one thing that you need to have a business. You need customers and cash. And so, how do you get customers quickly? Well, let's say you're trying to have, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, $10,000 months. If you're, let's just say $10,000 months, right? I'm going to pull out my calculator here. And if you want a $10,000 month with a $27 product, that's a whole lot of people that you need to find to buy that product. That's 370 people. If you're a newer business owner, how are you going to
Wow.
find 370 people to say yes to you? Well, typically it's through ads. And so ads cost money. And so now how are you going to invest that if you don't have it? It's like this vicious cycle. So what I always recommend if you're a newer business owner, or if you're just wanting to add, um, fulfill like easy and fulfilling money to your business, is to go high ticket. Because with a 10,000, I can't speak it, with a $10,000 sale, you need one or two of those. You need one or two clients to say yes, right? Two clients saying yes at 5K. Now, that means that the offer has to be really good, right? Or they're not going to say yes to you at $5,000 or one client at $10,000. But the truth is that, and that's part of the secret sauce, the secret ingredients that you need in the offer. Um, but that's a lot easier, in my opinion. That's how I built my business actually twice from the ground up with, um, no capital, was by bootstrapping it through high ticket offers.
We'll dive into your personal transformation story, your origin story in a minute. So, quick question. Does everyone need a high ticket offer if they're starting out, if there's a cash flow issue,
So,
or
oh, sorry.
to, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Lead is the optimal word here, right? Like I don't know what everyone needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's for you as the business owner to decide. To me, the easiest and quickest way to generate cash in your business is to look at it in bigger chunks. Is to say, okay, I need, and that's the operative word, $10,000. Am I going to get there with 370 people or with two? Or maybe with four, right? But to me, getting
Yeah.
4 people to say yes to you is a lot easier than finding 370 people to say yes to you. Same money.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So then, what does this process look like for you? Like when you say selling your offers with ease and flow, what does this process look
Yeah.
for
So
you?
first, it's really identifying what the offer is. And when you're selling high ticket, you want to be thinking about how can I make, if someone's going to invest that much money in your offer, how can you make a really big impact in their life and maybe even 10x the impact. So if they're investing, let's just say 2,500, how can you make a $25,000 impact in their life? And
Mm-hmm.
creating the offer around that, and then having conversations that lead to the sale, and that's a big part of it. One thing I didn't touch on that I should, when just thinking back to your last question about does everyone need it, I find that entrepreneurs fall into 4 different categories. And so what happens is there's this spectrum of high and low service and this spectrum of high and low sales. Okay. And so there's the entrepreneur who is the underpaid expert. Like you're delivering lots of service, lots of value to the marketplace, but you're underpaid. You're not making enough money. There's the entrepreneur who then goes the opposite route. And I know I went from one to the other at one point, and that was I decided, let me just put tons of offers out there because the more offers, the more people will buy. And so I'm making lots of sales and making good money, but you're not able to deliver service at the level that you would want because you're spread thin. You're just doing too many things. And so I call
Yeah.
that the spread thin staffer, because you literally become a staffer, a staff person in your own business. And then there's the person who's not making sales and not delivering value. They're just a stressed entrepreneur, right? And that's likely not the person listening to this podcast. The person listening to this podcast is likely falling into an underpaid expert, like you have value to offer, you're just not getting enough money for it, or you're spread thin because you're offering so much value, but you're not making enough money. And so what you want to do is figure out
Yeah.
how can I offer lots of value to the marketplace, lots of value to my clients, and make a lot of money. And to me, the fastest route there is through these high ticket sales. And I call that the affluent achiever.
Okay, cool. So can you say those 4 names
Yes, I
again?
define them as the underpaid expert, the spread thin staffer,
Mm-hmm.
the stressed entrepreneur, and the affluent achiever.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, quick question. When you're describing, like, when you say that if you're charging, let's say, $2,500 for something, your value should be at least $25,000. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is
Yeah.
that what you said? Yeah. So, how do people determine that value? Because I feel a lot of people struggle with identifying what value means when they are stacking up
Yeah.
their offer.
That's a really great.
Do you want to
Sure.
touch upon
So
that?
the offer stack is definitely an easy way to demonstrate value. And what I mean by the offer stack is literally a stack, like think of a stack of boxes, right? But in each box, you're listing out what the components of this offer are that make it valuable, and then assigning a price tag to each of those components. It makes it an easy and clear visual for someone. But then the question becomes, well, how do I determine what the value is of each of those things in the stack? And to be fair, some of it is subjective. Some of it can be based on what you've done in the past. So I know, for example, my discovery call script, which is not actually a script, but it's a flow, has helped a client. The first client who used it, it helped her 12x her rate on discovery calls. So I knew what she was doing, and then I knew what she was doing after she used my flow. And she now has a multiple six-figure business. So based on past experience, you can begin to gauge the value. Now, if you're like, well, but Jen, I'm a new business owner, and so I don't necessarily have those stats. Well, you might have those stats with yourself. You might know how your own formula helped you. You might know how I had a client once who was starting a business based on what she did in corporate, and the skills she acquired in corporate, and the results and the success she acquired in corporate. But she was like, but I don't have any results. I'm like, but you have all these results from what you did in your former job. Do those not count all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do them under my business name. So what? You did them. You're the same person, right? Like,
yeah.
So it's really looking at your past history of success, and then looking at what happens after the customer takes ownership of the product or service you're offering them. So once they take ownership of this, and maybe it's taking ownership of this information, taking ownership of this new knowledge, this new way of doing things, what's going to happen? What's the potential? What is the potential outcome for them in their life?
Yeah. I just want to add to something that you were talking about before, that when you have a process and you can bring that process to another scenario, another situation, or another niche or industry, it just becomes super easy to get results quickly and fast.
Totally.
Right? But when you don't have a process, it's like you're struggling. You're trying to create something from scratch, like your client. And I have a few clients who are like always, oh, how do we begin with this? When they have done something related to that in the past. It's just that they struggle between, creating something for online.
Yeah. I've heard people say a lot the term "I'm a newbie," and I don't like that term, because that term implies you're starting out like a baby, or with no knowledge. But really, what you're bringing to the table is your years of experience and knowledge, and failures and successes and learned lessons, and you're bringing all of that to the table. And so if you ever catch yourself saying like, I'm a newbie, or I don't know, or like, just ground back into yourself to say, well, what if I did know? And what if I could look at what I already have as the basis for what I can create?
Yeah. Well, I totally agree. Experience is definitely a key pillar. Like, experience teaches you so much and prepares you for that next 100%, level so much.
Yeah.
I mean, knowledge can be one thing, like you going through courses and books and stuff. But experience, like taking action and then learning, for like taking messy action.
So,
and then learning
someone
from
asked
that.
me recently if you could learn sales by reading a book. And I was like, sure, you can learn sales by reading a book. Like, you can learn how to sell, you can learn strategies, but that doesn't mean you're going to be any good at it just because you read that book. Is it going to help you in what you do? Sure. But it's like learning to swim. You can learn how to swim by reading a manual. Put one hand, then the other hand, and hold your breath and breathe and whatever. But like, until you actually get in the pool and do it and figure out, oh, if I do that, I lose my breath, or I swallow water, or, I need to like tread to stay above. Like, it's the same thing with sales or anything you're trying to learn. Like you have to do it and gain that experience. And that's
Yeah.
what you're talking about to really be able
Yeah.
to become a master at it.
So what would you say are the three pillars or like um, elements or pillars, whatever you want to call them, or secrets, ingredients, maybe like whatever you want to call them, that would create a successful high ticket offers selling business?
So the first pillar is something that is not transferred in your messaging. So it's called belief. And you don't actually say in your
Yeah.
messaging, I believe this product is going to help you. I promise it's, like maybe you try to communicate that, but it's the unspoken energy that you carry with you when you have a deep belief in your product or service. And so in order to look at belief, I break it down into a couple components. And that is, how deep is your belief in yourself? Like your ability to deliver this information or whatever the teachings are in the high ticket, your belief in your product or service, which is different. It's separate from you. Your belief in your company, like how do you stand behind whatever it is you're delivering? And your belief in your ability to differentiate yourself from the competition. So why should they go with you versus someone else? And then your belief in, this is the last one, in their outcome. Like, how strongly do you believe that they will be better off having worked with you? So that's the first pillar. And you really need to identify those beliefs in order to strongly communicate that this is the program for them. Because I see entrepreneurs all the time showing up and they're kind of half assing it. And sorry to say a bad word, but like they're
That's fine.
they're putting themselves out there, but they're like holding back a little bit because they're like, oh, I want to sell
Yeah.
this, but what if it doesn't work? And what if
Mhm.
they don't get enough value? And all the what ifs that are like really preventing them from going all in. And so how do you get rid of those what ifs? A lot of them is through a strong, unbreakable belief in your product and service. And so what I do, or what I did, like when I was selling Cutco knives back in the day, I would go to like people's homes selling Cutco knives. Yeah. And
Wow.
I can tell you 2 decades later, they are still the best knives on the planet. If you need stuff for your kitchen, buy from Cutco. Okay. How can I tell you that 2 decades later, I don't make commission? They're not paying me to say this. They don't really care if I say that or not. Because I have that deep belief that's lasted with me 2 decades post selling the product.
Wow.
Right. And I can even tell you why they're the
Yeah.
best. Okay. Why they're safer than the other knives. Why sharper knives are actually better for you so that you don't cut yourself, contrary to popular belief. Like I can tell you 1,000,001 reasons why you should every household should have Cutco knives in their kitchen, why it's the best investment. And so how strong is your belief? Would you believe that your product or service is that good as I just expressed around Cutco knives 2 decades later? That's how strong your belief has to be in your offer.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I look at this as a 3-part framework: show, don't tell, help, don't sell, and prove like hell. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Okay. So I would
Yep.
go in and
I just marked it.
I would go in and
Go
I would
ahead.
go in and sell these knives to people's houses. But if I showed up and I was like, hey, I have the best knives, can you buy my knives? They'd be like, okay, I don't believe you. Thanks. I already have knives. Goodbye. But how did I become one of the top Cutco salespeople? Is I use this formula of show, don't tell. So instead of showing up and telling them how great my knives were, I showed them. Prior to the sale, I would ask them about their favorite kitchen foods that they would eat, like pineapple, like fruits, pineapple or whatever, right? And I would bring the hardest fruit I could find that they would tell me they liked, and I would show them, okay, try cutting it with your knife. cool. Now I want you to cut it with mine. And they were sold. But how do you
Wow.
transfer that on the internet? And, you do that through
Mm-hmm.
video, you do that through different communications of showing, not just telling. And you have to tell you have to tell, but people learn in stories, people remember in stories. And so it's about showing, not just telling. The second part is help, don't sell. So, yes, I teach sales, but I'm all
Yeah.
about helping.
Mm-hmm.
So, I worked at a retail clothing boutique in high school, and it was a very expensive boutique store, and some girl came in and she was going to buy a dress from me, and I was already counting the commission. I'm like, wow, it's like a $700 dress. I'm going to make this much. Like, yeah. And my manager called me over and she's like, Jen, you cannot sell her that dress. But Susie,
Wow.
right.
Why?
I'm like, but Susie, the commission. And she's like, no, we are a boutique store. We rely on word of mouth and repeat customers. So you have to ask yourself, does your business rely on word of mouth and repeat customers? And that dress doesn't look good on her. She's going to go home, show her friends, and they're going to say, wherever you got that, don't go back. And let us
Yeah.
know because we don't want to shop there. And by the way, then the dress will come back. I was like, okay. She's like, go find her something that will.
No. Shattered
Right. She's
dreams.
like, go find her something that will look good. Okay. So I went on a search in the store. I found what I thought, based on her body type, would be a great fit. And I came over to her. I said, hey, I know you love this dress. I have a dress that's $200 less, and I think it's going to look even better. Would you be willing to try it? She's like, sure. So I brought it over to her. She
Mm-hmm.
tried it, and it just fit her so perfectly. It looked so good on her. And what happened? She bought it. She was my customer the whole time I worked there. She would only shop with me because she trusted me. She trusted that I wasn't going to just sell her anything. I was only going to
Mm-hmm.
sell her what worked for her. So you have to be able, when you're
Work for
helping,
her. Yeah.
you have to be able to create that level of trust. And when you're selling high ticket, if you don't establish that level of trust, people aren't going to buy from you. And if you're just trying to sell them something, even though you
Mm-hmm.
know it's a bad fit, they're going to tell all their friends never to buy from you.
Yeah. Yeah. That story was mind blowing. I'm sure, like, and that happened like
Mm-hmm.
decades ago,
Yeah.
like 2 decades ago, or like a decade ago. And I think at that point, online was not even
No,
in the
I mean, she
picture,
wouldn't have made a review about us or
you
anything
know,
like
and people
that.
were, yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, the point that I'm trying to make is that at that point, salespeople were like looked from a
Mm.
different eye, and they had their own strategies. So making sure that you hold your values at all points, that's a big thing. So that's
Yeah,
really
I was
mind
so
blowing.
lucky.
I mean, although it was a
I was
learning
so
for
lucky
you.
to have a manager who had really good ethics and values, because I wanted to be
Yeah.
successful. And so I could have gone down a dark path of selling things to people because I was good at selling. But what I realized was it was more important to help than sell. And when you come at it, like, people will tell me, oh, Jen, I'm scared to be salesy. I don't want to show up online and like be promoting my offer, and then I'm going to be salesy. And there's this negative connotation. But the truth is, you're a business owner. You need to make sales. It's sell or die in business. And
Yeah.
so if you come at it from a place of being helpful, and that intention, you'll never come off salesy.
Hmm. So was this always the case with you, or was there a point in time where you felt that, you need to be more helpful or you need to be more salesy? Like, or was
The
this always the case, help
I didn't realize it
then
until
sell?
that day. I hadn't been working in the boutique long, but that lesson just stuck with me forever, and that was really the beginning of my pivotal sales career, of realizing I could be really good at sales if I just uh, tried to help them. And that's a key ingredient with high ticket is like,
Yeah.
don't just put together an offer that like that excites you. It should excite you, but it has to help the other person.
Yeah. And then you should be able to
Oh
sell it.
yeah, of
I mean,
course.
obviously health first, but then should be
Yeah.
able to sell it. A lot of people think that, once they're done creating that offer and they have all the good intentions to help people, then it's job done.
Job's just
But
beginning.
you need a little bit of selling for sure.
Job's just
Yeah.
beginning, right? So like I got her that dress, and then I knew that she would have spent, $200 more. So now I'm thinking, okay, what could look good with that? Not just to increase my order, but also to help her so that when she gets home, she doesn't have to think about it. Do we have a pair of shoes that look good with that? Do we have, what else can I add to it? And so that's a lot with high ticket too, is
Yeah.
like, especially if you're doing something that's customized, like a VIP day, is thinking about what do they need and how do I incorporate that in their needs.
Yeah. And it takes me back to what we were discussing before, the
Mm,
stacking. Like if you have everything listed down, like this is what they would need as next step. Once they're through this, this is they would need. Um, that's how you
yep.
stack it. And that's how you create a $25,000 offer,
100%. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the third
The
one? I think
third
we're
one
done
is
with
prove
two.
like hell.
Help and stuff. Yeah.
So, especially because we're
Uh-huh.
selling online, we need social proof. It doesn't matter if you say something. If you
Mm-hmm.
say how good you are, it's bragging. But when your customer says how good you are, it's proof. By the way, that's a quote from my husband. Um, it's
Wow.
in his books, uh, but it's true.
He's a
Yes,
writer too?
he's also
He's
yeah,
into
yeah.
sales too? Oh.
Um, and his name's
Mhm.
Jeffrey Gitomer, if you want to look him up. But um,
Oh yeah. Actually, I've seen your posts on Facebook. Like you guys were going
yes,
live
yeah, we
together.
go live.
And I was like, oh, they're related for sure.
Yep. And we have very invigorating sales conversations in our household for sure. Um,
Sure.
so,
Yeah.
so
Your household must be a VIP. If I could go there like for 2 days, it would
to
be a
sit, oh
VIP
yeah, to
retreat.
sit at our kitchen table, I always think like Gabrielle, my stepdaughter,
Yeah.
she's getting such an education in business and sales because she's, just hears us talking about it. It's cool. Um,
Yeah.
so prove like hell. Get all the
Mm-hmm.
social proof that you can, and if you're just starting out, consider helping someone for free, video testimonials, written testimonials, testimonials of all kinds, because having them mixed up on your pages and your sales pages is really helpful, and using them to overcome objections. So someone will say, oh, well, I just can't afford that right now. And then I'll say, okay, I understand that. I want you to hear from Mary, who also felt like she couldn't afford it right now. And this is what she had to say, or here's the case study, or, and I'm incorporating that. And I try to actually bring them in prior to hearing the objection, because if you can nip it in the bud before they vocalize that objection,
Yeah.
you're squashing it before it even becomes an objection, which is way more effective than
Yeah.
when it's an objection.
Yeah. It's like that's what my client Sally also taught,
Exactly.
something like
Exactly.
that.
So that's the
Hmm.
third one.
So then let's go back to, are these like pillars? Because we were talking about pillars and you started with
Oh
beliefs
yeah,
and
I
then
went all over the place.
yeah, we started
Well,
talking
I would
about
say that's
no, we are going
that
good.
is really my method, is show don't tell, help don't sell, prove like hell. As the pillars.
Hmm.
And then belief is more like the foundation to everything. If you don't have the belief, then it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, right? Like how can you sell anything without that belief?
So then let's talk about your life. Like when did you enter into sales? What's your origin story? And was there a breakthrough moment, or like you found a husband and then you thought, oh, we are doing this. Like,
How did it
yeah, like
go?
share your story.
So I started
Yeah.
selling when I was
Sometimes I just want to add in. I just want to add in, like sometimes it happens that you're doing something, but when you meet your potential partner, let's just say that, uh, it becomes like almost certain that this is what you're going
Yeah.
to do. And that itself is a breakthrough moment
Yeah,
for a lot of
that's an
people.
interesting thought. I really like that. I'll get into that in a second. So I started selling when I was
Yeah,
young,
sure.
like
This is,
four,
yeah.
5 years old, outside of the supermarket with my grandma. I just started selling these bracelets.
Wow.
I would sit. I didn't. It was boring to go into the supermarket, so I would sit outside, make bracelets. People started buying them from me, and I realized in that moment, didn't matter what I liked. It mattered what they liked. So if I liked pink and purple, but they wanted blue and orange for their team colors, that's what they were going to buy, right? So it was a fun
Hmm.
lesson at a very early age, and in terms of like speaking to strangers and speaking to people and asking what they want and asking questions, and then delivering them what they wanted. So that was really cool. um, and then I've sold my whole life. I sold Cutco knives, retail. I sold educational software. I sold stuff in college. I mean, like I've always had sales and sales management positions. And in my former company that I was with, I was there for 6.5 years and went from like bottom of the ranks to second in charge of the sales division, managing a lot of people, responsible for where the stock price was going. I had no idea that I had all this responsibilities. Yeah, in
Oh,
my 20s,
wow. Yeah.
late 20s. And what I realized when I was there was I'm really good at selling, and I'm good at helping people understand how to sell. So it's my superpower, because there are some people who are really good at selling and then they become managers, sales managers, but that doesn't mean they know how to manage or train or coach or lead. And what I
Yeah.
realized was I was good at the training part. Like I loved teaching sales, even more than making sales sometimes. And that's when I decided to
Hmm.
start my own business, because, and this was in 2013, because I realized if I were to start my own business, I could help people all over the world make more sales and change their life and
Yeah.
change their, trajectory. And so I quit, started a business, immediately set out to write a book, decided I wanted sales material in the
Mhm.
meantime, because in the beginning I was speaking to companies and going in and giving corporate talks on sales to their sales teams. Now I help entrepreneurs. It is more my passion.
Mhm.
But in back in that day in 2013, I wanted some sales material, so that I could go teach it into corporations. And that's how I met my husband. He was training people to be certified in his sales methodology, and someone said, "Hey, you should check out Jeffrey Gitomer," and I did. Noticed he was having an upcoming training, and the rest was history.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it was like written for you from the
Yeah,
start.
I knew from pretty early
Yep.
age that I was always going to be an entrepreneur. My parents were entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and when people ask me, like people would ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people are like, doctor, firefighter, this, that. I'm like, I'm going to be a business owner. Okay, what kind of business? I'm like,
Wow.
I don't know. I have no idea what kind of business, but I am going to own a business. That was always my life dream. And it just
What
happened that I love sales.
what does it meant? Like calling yourself a business owner? What does it really meant for you? Like as in terms of obviously like I'm going to be different, if that's what you felt, but also like what are you going to do as a business owner?
Yeah.
And I know that I'm talking to a kid
Yeah. So
right
as a
now.
kid, what I observed was a couple of things. My parents
Hmm.
had over 100 employees, they were in a factory. And
Hmm.
what I observed was those people became like family, and they had people for a really long time.
Wow.
And they would do things for them like Thanksgiving. Everyone got to choose if they were getting a turkey or a ham, and my parents would go out and buy everyone a turkey or a ham. And they would, just treat them.
Ah,
Yeah, they
that's
would
so
just treat them really
sweet.
well. And so I thought as a business owner, you get to help other people make money, like your employees, you get to support them. They supported so many people through, different times. And I observed that. But I also observed the other side because I would go to, on all the holidays and vacations from school, I would go to work with my parents. And so I would observe them. I would observe my mom going on sales calls and what it took to win the sale and the prep that went into it and the conversations that she and my dad had leading up to it and how they were going to help that client. And so I also realized you got to help the clients. And so I think what I liked about it from a young kid's age is that like you got to help a lot of people, and that is a part of my core is I really like to help. And so
Mm.
I think that's what I was thinking, and make a difference, right? I think that every entrepreneur out there wants to
Yeah.
not just make money. I mean, of course you want to make money, but I think
Mhm.
every entrepreneur wants to make impact.
Sure. That's why we are here. I mean, money can motivate you
Yeah.
only to an extent. Once you start having it, when you start seeing it around you and that it's coming easily and naturally, that's when, you come face to face with this question,
Hmm.
okay, what's next?
Yeah.
What now? And that's when you realize for a lot of people, it's a big realization that they have that I want to really make that impact,
Yeah.
really make it count.
100%.
For some, it's from the beginning itself, but a lot of people who are not, who struggle with cash flow, for them, it's really they start with money and then, you know, once everything is sorted, they're like, okay, now I want to
Yeah,
make
I
that
think for a lot of
impact.
people, there's a huge focus on money at first because you can't make the impact without the income.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah, for
how can you
sure.
help others if you
Yeah.
can't even support yourself or your family or whatever, right? And so there's this like, oh, I need more money, need more money.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you get to have this like transition where you're like, I'm just going to go and do things that make me feel good and make my clients and help my clients, and
Hmm.
that's where it just gets so fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's when you're really in that
Yeah.
ease and flow and
Oh,
money
yeah.
starts
Yeah.
flowing
Cause that
in.
it's that energy of abundance for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly. So let's try to summarize everything and let's talk about like what are the few mistakes that people who are starting out might be making and what they can do to get on track.
Okay, so the first thing is, um, in summary, is belief is like the most important thing you could create right now. And a mistake you might be making is not investing some time to understand your beliefs in your offers. And if you don't know if your offer, if your belief is strong or you're like something's kind of holding me back, that energy is going to be felt immediately.
Mhm.
Um, and other
Yeah.
mistakes you may be making is not putting yourself out there, or like, how are people going to buy from you if they don't know, like, and trust you? Like, you can't be the best kept secret
Hmm.
and make the most money, right? Like, if you're the best kept secret, no one knows about you. They don't know
Yeah.
to buy from you. They don't know how you can help them. So you need to figure out,
Yeah.
maybe work with a coach, like figure out how to overcome whatever it
Hmm.
is holding you back from putting yourself out there. Um, and then, just if you're afraid to sell high ticket, really ask yourself why. Like, what kind of impact could it create for you and your clients? Um and it could be a mistake if you're not incorporating it into your business.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. When you say that, I'm reminded of this. I'm inside this community. So when someone yesterday or day before she posted that putting out content but it's not working, no one is sending me DMs, and I happen to follow her on Instagram and I see her posts and stories coming up on my feed all the time, and so I just said, I've never seen a sales post. It just in the comments, I was like, okay, you're doing the efforts and I appreciate that. I mean, I respect that. I just want to say, like, that I've never seen a sales post. And although I'm probably not your target audience and not your target client, but still, that's my opinion of what you're doing. And she was like, yeah, you're right. I've never done that. And like 30 minutes after that, she did a sales. And I'm not sure what the result is. I don't know. But that is something that keeps a lot of people stuck as well, that they don't put
So,
out sales their posts,
yeah, my
their
mom
offer.
always told me if you don't ask, you don't get. And like, if you don't
Mm-hmm.
ask for the
Yeah.
sale, how could you get the sale? Right. And there's ways to ask for it. Like, I'm signing people up right now for something for free, but I still have to ask them to sign up. Right. They're still like, hey, if you
Yeah.
want in on this,
Yeah.
here's where you enroll. Right. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to just magically pop into my sphere. It just doesn't work like that. So you need to ask them whether you're
Mm-hmm.
asking them to pay or sign up for free or whatever. Like, you need to ask for it for sure. So many people, I see that on discovery calls a lot. Someone
Mm-hmm.
will say to me, Jen, I do all these discovery calls and they're not working. Okay. Well, like, let's go through it. What happened? So they walk me through it and they go through the whole thing and they've like described this amazing way that the client is going to win or profit or have a better outcome by working with them. I'm like, and then they're like, but then they don't buy. I'm like, well, you didn't talk about how you asked them for the sale. Tell me about that part. And there's this moment of silence typically where they're like, well, I don't want to ask if they're in. I'm like, but that's the whole point of the call, right?
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
to
You've got
ask.
to ask. I love that. Yeah. I love that. If you're not going to ask, you're
Yeah,
not
if
going
you
to
don't
get. Is
ask, you
that
don't
it?
get.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't ask, you don't get. Awesome. So I'm loving this conversation, and I know that we can go on and on, but also wanted to, like, I'm reminded of this VIP retreat you were on, and you were like posting Instagram reels. So is this like part of your high ticket
Oh,
offer, or did you went
oh,
to
yes. So
another retreat?
one of my high ticket offers is a VIP retreat. I think that's what you're referring to. It's called Sage Your Soul,
Okay.
and it's in
Yeah.
Sedona.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and the next one is in October. Sorry, I'm so sorry, September. And then there'll be another one, most likely early next year. And so, um, yeah, it is a high ticket offer, and it is massive amounts of transformation in just 3.5 days. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm sure. So a lot of people who do you think, like, quick question then, do you think people who don't have um, something, who don't have a digital product yet, they can also start with retreat, or does the retreat come a little
I would
later on the
start with a
journey?
one-on-one, because the retreat, there's more involved. Like, you have to rent a
Mm-hmm.
house, you have more expense. With one-on-one VIP days, you don't
Yeah.
have as much expense, and so it's much easier to manage. But if you don't have a digital offer
Okay.
yet, having these VIP days, which I also offer, like, one-on-one VIP days where you work with me and we get everything done that would take, like, most of my coaching clients months of work over time. We set the agenda and do it in
Mm-hmm.
one day or 1.5 days. And so it's
Yeah.
massive impact, massive growth for the client. And then also, what you can do with that is you test out your offers. So you begin to learn what works and what doesn't work before you build your digital course, and you incorporate those learnings in that. And it's such quick feedback because you're doing it in a day.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So then what does the ladder look like? Like, quickly, if you can just say that in like one sentence or something, and
Yeah,
then we'll
yeah.
wind
So
this up.
low ticket, like
Like,
free offers. I have a Make More Money mini course. and then goes into group coaching, then one-on-one, then my mastermind, which is also a group coaching program, but at a higher level, a certain dollar amount of revenue. Um, and somewhere in there is the retreats. And then at the very top is one-to-one coaching or one-to-one VIP days.
Okay. Awesome. So, yeah, is there anything that you want to say in and this thing? And also, where can people find you and
Totally.
connect
So
with you?
please reach out on Instagram at Jen Gitomer. It's just my name. It's easy. I love to connect with people. DM me, let me know you heard me on the Guri Show. I would love that. And I'll send you my Make More Money mini course, or you can enroll in it. It's in the link in my bio. It's free at the moment. And I guess in ending, I would say a lot of people say you need to do what you love, and I can't underestimate the importance of waking up and loving what you do every day. Because when you wake up and love what you do every day feels like a holiday. And it's the best feeling on the
Yeah.
planet, and in my opinion, the only way to live your life.
Yeah, it truly is the best
Totally.
feeling. Yeah. Awesome, Jen. So, thank you so much. We've had this wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so
It's a
much.
pleasure.